Okay, this video might be a little bit pieced together today because I'm moving from one of my houses in the city out to my ranch in the country. So it might be pieced together and it might look a little bit confusing. But what I want to talk about in this video is the concept that when we as humans categorize, that this is level confusion. The distortion that categorization creates is a level distortion. So to understand this lesson, and it's fairly complex, so I'm going to try to piece it all together. When we think of each one of us in a body, we are a fractured aspect of divine source, but we are part of divine source. So if you can think of the singularity or the Big Bang, the initial point of expansion, when all that was, which is part of what we are, expanded outward, we started to fracture, in a sense, into a multiplicity of different forms. Now, in the understanding of expansion and intelligent energy, because here is also the connection. We are energetic. Everything that we are is energy. We are intelligent energy. Everything around us is intelligent energy. So all form we see, the clothes I'm wearing, the table behind me, the artwork, it's all also intelligent energy at its very core. All animals, all life. So back to the original statement of level confusion. One of the things that the ego does, or our identity mind does, that tries to allow us to understand our reality from the standpoint of our identity in this capsule of a body, it creates categorizations. And it's certainly helpful in terms of intellectually and practically interacting with our surroundings to have categories. Intelligent energy, especially human beings, we need to categorize things in order for us to organize things. Because again, order is divine. We like order. But there's this element of distortion when we understand ourselves in terms of frequency and in terms of the reality that we are experiencing. So what I want to do in this lesson is really unpack the distortion or the confusion of categorization. So when we take up this torch and we start to put things into boxes, to categorize them as good, evil, right, wrong, best, better, in terms of even hierarchies. Okay, so potentially there's a king and a queen, and then all of the different social levels. These are ways that we categorize things. And why I want to bring this to our attention is often this exercise or this mental categorization allows for us to justify our judgments, and our judgments and justifications allow us to create abuse. So abuse is just distortion. It's distorted thinking. It's thinking that is not pure. It's not of the core essence of the divine, the love and the light. And that also doesn't make it wrong. And this is the other piece of the totality of this understanding. When we come through the vantage point, through the spiritual sight of understanding that a lot of density, a lot of the distortion is catalyst for our own growth and learning, we can realize that we categorize, that we create these hierarchies in our unknowingness, in our innocence. So we have not yet bridged our knowledge to a point where it is convergent with divine unconditional love. So it's not that distortion and these lower activities are good or bad. Again, remember, categorization. We feel the need to stamp everything in our world with some sort of a label. When we remove these labels and love everything in all stages, this is where we converge. This is where we resurrect our thinking, okay? So when we can even think of some of the lessons, like the idea of the devil or the ego or the fall from graceful thinking, okay? This was a literal fall in consciousness. Now, I want to connect this to the material world, because the material world is what we're currently existing in, and everything is connected. So in creation, when we fall in consciousness, we also fall in form. So what will exist in our external reality, so the forms that we see will, in and of the entirety of the system, will appear differently. The forms will construct themselves. The energetic coalescence of everything that is will appear different. So is there a literal fall? Of course, yes, there is going to be a literal fall. As consciousness decreases, as distortion increases, what you are going to have is a different semblance or assembly of the forms in terms of the three-dimensional reality that you are experiencing. But you have to understand the emanating force, the force of creation, is non-physical. So it is the consciousness which creates the reality. So when we understand this, then the practical exercise of raising our consciousness in terms of our thinking, in terms of everything that we emit, because again, we are intelligent energy. This is where we see our external world transforming right before our eyes. So the form itself is transforming. The form is intelligent energy. We are intelligent energy. We are all connected. And what we have to learn to do is not to categorize things in a distorted fashion, is to not name things as good or bad, right or wrong, or on a hierarchy of better or worse. We need to understand that all energy, all beings, all forms are in a state of perpetual learning. This means a perpetual state of evolution, a perpetual state of creation. And this is beautiful. This is the raw, real elements of everything that is. This is a bit of the follow-up to the video I made yesterday. I didn't get time at the office yesterday or at the ranch to film the other half. So again, it's a little bit strange, my hair is straight, but anyways, I'm gonna roll right into the rest of this lesson. So again, some of the things that we associate with distortion. So this concept of the devil, or this Luciferian sort of evil construct, this ideology. When we can link it back to science, to our own transformation, and the idea of energy and vibration, we can see it in a more undistorted way that removes any need for categorization or judgment, okay? So if we can think of intelligent energy, we are all intelligent energy, all aspects are intelligent energy, everything in the totality of creation. So the idea is, as our thought world, as our consciousness falls in terms of its vibrational calibration, or the thought forms that it is creating, it becomes more distorted. Another way of thinking of this in realistic terms is it kind of becomes more macabre, or what we will visually see from the observation or the observer effect will kind of look more ugly, more scary, more monstrous. Because again, distortion, when we link it back to science in terms of form and creation, okay, it's not going to have the same beauty. Another really great way of thinking of this is through the sound experiments that have been done with water. When we see the crystallization, that perfect symmetry, those beautiful snowflake-like crystals, when we are exposing the water molecules to very high vibrational, very beautiful tones. When we are exposing the same form structures to very fractured, distorted, what we think of as lower vibrational tones, we see sort of a discombobulated formation in terms of the hydrogen, oxygen, water molecule. Okay, so this is a very visceral way of looking at it, but it also removes, in terms of the learning, the fear-based sort of learning or lineage of the past, where we think of low vibrational thought forms as scary or monstrous. They may appear that way, they may act that way, but again, we have that control through our innate ability to raise our vibrational frequency, which is going to affect everything, because remember, energy is all interconnected. So as we raise in our vibration, in our thought forms, we affect through this ripple effect, this outward flow of energy. You know, we become the light, we become the generator. So this is a lot of those teachings that, you know, the Buddha or Jesus was bringing to us in terms of saying, raise your vibration, be that light, be that high vibrational output of this beautiful energy, and you will in effect become that miracle, because you are affecting change. And also back to this idea of the miracle, this is what we would term this instantaneous change, this kind of quantum level change that seems to happen outside the realm of these normal factions of what we think of as the laws of the universe. But they're not outside the realm of possibilities. They just happen in the quantum world, in the divine world. So they're instantaneous. And so to us, in terms of our understanding, they seem miraculous. Okay, I'm going to go down into a little bit more of this lecture, which I jotted down here. Okay, so again, in terms of the hierarchy, in terms of this ideology of separation and division, okay, this is something that is a construct of human society. Doesn't mean that it is the highest vantage point of knowledge, understanding, or correctness. There is a level of distortion in this ideology of hierarchy. So the better way to understand the lineage of our soul, or the lineage of our energetic patterning, is, I'm going to frame it this way, okay, as a path. So think of a path, and you're walking along in sort of like a hiking sequence with your family, okay? So you have the grandma and the grandpa, the mom, the dad, the aunts, the uncles, the teenagers, and the babies, kind of all in a line. And we wouldn't create a hierarchy in terms of better or worse, or, you know, evil, or, you know, very good, bad. This is just this progression of the integration of knowledge. There's no need to categorize the baby from the grandparent. They're both beautiful states of energy. They're both along that path. They're both at their stage, okay? And remember, the baby might be stumbling along, might need a little bit of help from the other individuals in that family. They may need some guidance. They may, you know, not even understand where they are. And again, maybe even what they're doing. Again, they're stumbling around. This is the little baby on the path. And then you might have the parents that are walking really fast, that are watching out for everybody. And then the wise old grandparents going slow and steady and watching their footwork. All states of learning are beautiful. All states of learning and growth are necessary. And so the system is functioning as it should. And so as we gain a higher understanding vibrationally in terms of the output, the understanding, the observation effect of our energetic collective consciousness and our personal individualized collective consciousness, we grow together as a unified system. You know, I think I'm going to wrap it up there. There's a lot more I want to dive into in this particular lesson, but I don't want to make it too long because it's one of the most exciting lessons. It's one of the most diverse and also sort of cumulatively potent lessons. So I don't want to ramble on. I'm going to give you guys well wishes for the day. Our team will edit this video together, and again, hopefully we will see you in the next lesson. I'm going to get to work here at head office, and have a beautiful day.